Hey guys, welcome or welcome back. My name is JC if you haven't seen my face before. Today's video is my April reading wrap up in May TBR. I've been looking forward to filming this for the last week or so because this month has been so amazing. I think I read like 19 books, I'm pretty sure, which is absolutely insane because on average I probably read 8 to 10 books in a month, so I have no idea what happened, but I was definitely not keeping up with Notion, not keeping up with my reading journal, so we have a lot to do before we can get into the wrap up. For those that are new to my channel, I feel like I'm continuously getting new subscribers over here, which is so exciting. I kind of do my wrap ups a little differently. I've started it this year where I kind of take you along the process of getting prepared for my wrap up, and then we do my wrap up and my TBR. I just like it to be a little different than just sitting down talking about books. So let's go ahead and head to the coffee shop to do all of the Notion, reading journal, Goodreads updates.
I see it in your eyes. Yeah, I can read the signs. You need to get away. It's time we make a change. Oh, you know you'll always have me. Baby, I will always stay with you. So put your trust in me. We'll work it out, you'll see. If we get in a car and drive someplace far, yeah, we could go. Life is a winding road, no telling where it goes. Driving through days and nights, won't stop for traffic lights. And I really wanna know.
Okay, I don't know if you can hear me because I'm outside, but I've been sipping on my matcha and updating everything. So I finished up with the Notion side of things. I did all my reading log stuff for April, and then I double checked that everything was entered into Goodreads, so we're good there. And then you guys saw I was starting on my reading journal side. So I just finished up with the page tracker and reading log. I'm letting that sit for a minute so the ink can dry. And then I need to do it for my overall reading log that I have. So this was just the monthly tracker, but then I have the 2024 tracker, so that's what I'm gonna work on next.
Jumping from cliffs so high, trusting our wings to fly. Sometimes we're crashing down, but we get up and start from the ground. And I really wanna know, if I'll ever figure out where the road goes.
Okay, I just got to this page, but I realized I didn't pack the markers for April's color scheme. This is all from March, and the only ones in here from May. So I forgot about that, so we'll have to, circle back to this later. Okay, I just got back home from doing all of the prep work, so let's get into my April reading wrap up. So when I fill out my Notion, I mark whether or not I read a book from the library, my physical TBR, an ebook, and then most recently an audio ARC. And so when I was going through, I realized of the 19 books that I read this month, I only read 8 from my physical TBR. And that's actually something I'm proud of. It sounded bad the way I said it, but I read, I believe, 9 books from the library, and then one book was an audio ARC from Libro FM, and another one was an ebook. So I read 19 books, but this is what I have to show for it. So we're gonna go through all of the books that I read this month, and I'm gonna do it a little bit different. Usually I just do it in the order that I read them, but because I made certain videos this month, I'm gonna try to have those grouped together, and that way, if you're interested in learning more about my thoughts when I was reading the books, you can go check those out. Okay, I think I organized this in a way that makes sense, so I'm gonna go through all the books that I didn't read for a dedicated video first. These could be in like the weekly reading vlogs or something, they just don't have like their own dedicated video. So the first book that I read this month was Finding Mr. Right by Kelly Armstrong. I gave this book 3 stars. This was an ebook I read, and I can't remember if it was an arc at the time, but we are following these 2 main characters. Our main female character is an author, and she believes that her book will get picked up faster and just sold better if it's under a male name. So she publishes this work under a male pen name, and then it becomes a hit. Shocker. And then because of how successful it is, the publisher wants to do like a press tour. They want to do all these things that now our main female character has to hire a male actor instead of just coming clean and saying like, I'm actually a female. She's like, I'm just gonna hire a male actor that will pretend to be me and everything that we need him to be. And so that is our like romance, and they have like a documentary that's filmed where it's forced proximity because he has to come and like stay with her. And then we have like obviously just like the press tour that they're doing together, and it was fine. Like 3 stars is good. I think this is a good like palette cleanser because I was entertained. It was like, okay, this is like fun concept and everything. It just didn't have like depth to be more for me, and I wasn't obsessed in any way with it, but it was like, okay, this was entertaining. So if you're looking for something to kind of break up like heavy reads, or just like, hey, I'm in the mood to read but I like don't want to have to think too much, this would be a good book for you. The next book I read was A River Enchanted by Rebecca Ross. I gave this book 3 stars. So I'm going to look at my like Goodreads review about this, because when I think back on this, I'm just like, literally, what was this book? I just remember being confused a majority of the time. So I do remember enjoying the plot line of this. The fantastical element is like there are like goddesses and magical elements where these girls are being taken from a town and no one really knows why. And so our main character, Jack, is being summoned home back to Cadence, the town, to help solve those mysteries. But, like, what? The elemental spirits that dwell in every breath of air, splash of water, blade of grass, and flicker of fire find mirth in the lives of the humans. And a bard's music is the only way to summon them and ask that the girls be returned. So that's where Jack comes in, because Jack is a bard, I believe. And so I just remember liking the plot line, like being interested in the plot line, but I could not connect to the characters at all. And so that really kind of just took me out of the story. So this could be for you. I think this wasn't for me, but I enjoyed a good part of this. And I'll probably pick up the second book. I'll just like get it from my library. Okay, the next book that I read was Half a Soul by Olivia Atwater. I gave this book 4.25 stars. This book was so cozy. It was just a hug in a book. I really enjoyed this. I loved the like Regency element with the fantasy. So it is like a Regency romance, but also fantastical. So our main female character, when she was young, some fantastical being, I can't remember what exactly he was, but he came and he was trying to take her soul, but it was interrupted in the process and he only took half of her soul. But the part that he took was like her ability to like have fear and embarrassment, and so she's walking this earth in a Regency era with no concept of, I wouldn't say manners, but it's just like things that you ask or do where you probably shouldn't do that, because think of like Bridgerton, like that's the vibes it gave when you have like your family name and like God forbid you did something embarrassing that could tarnish your family name. Like that's the fine line that our main female character is walking this whole book. But you also have the fantastical element of the Lord Sorcerer, I believe. He's a sorcerer of some sort, he's magical, he has powers and stuff, and like that's our main male like interest and like romance interest, and they're like working together in this book to help her find the rest of her soul and like all these things. And it was just so fun. It was just the perfect like cozy book. I think a lot of like romantasy books that I read can be very heavy and like involve politics and war, and so I don't know, the heaviness of that can be a deterrent to pick it up in that moment, but this gives you the fantasy romance that we love without all the heavy parts of it. So if that interests you, definitely pick it up. The next book that I read was 19 Steps by Millie Bobby Brown, and there's another author, Kathleen McGurl. So it's like Millie Bobby Brown's like family history that was thrown into this book, and so she helped a lot of it, but Kathleen was the one that actually wrote it, I believe. So this book, I gave it 4.5 stars. I read and listened to this book in one sitting. Like I couldn't put it down. It was so good. I don't know if it was just like the mood I was in that moment or what, but I felt like I was just listening to someone tell me their story, and it was Millie Bobby Brown that narrated it, which love that for me. So this book, okay. I wrote that. I was looking at my Goodreads review. Listening to it, I think, enhanced it because of that. I think when you're listening to like a story be told like this, it just feels like you're just sitting down with someone and listening to their life story. And the premise of this book is you are following this girl into being a woman during World War II. I believe it's set in London, and it's just all the rawness that comes with war. Luckily, I haven't lived through that, so can't attest to how much this like feels like that, but it was just this love story that was so beautiful but so raw, because you're dealing with so much like loss and tragedy that comes with war, but also love and family can be so powerful in those moments, and that's love with your family, your friends, and like romance. And I just really liked seeing this story progress through that time, and how love can just help so many people in those circumstances when they're grieving losses, when their like friends are suddenly missing, you don't know what happened, and it's just like assuming the worst. It's just a lot. And this book really just told a beautiful love story while navigating the tragic parts of war, and I really liked it. I think if you're interested in picking it up at all, I highly recommend the audiobook, and like check it out from your library if you're not really sure if this is the type of book that you'd be interested in, because I don't think this is a typical book I would pick up, but I remember being interested in it because of Millie Bobby Brown, and I am so glad that I picked it up. The next book I read was A Fate Inked in Blood by Danielle Jensen. I gave this book 3 stars. This wasn't one I necessarily had like high hopes for, but I was seeing a lot of like 5-star reviews, so I was definitely optimistic, so it kind of took me by surprise. I would say this book in general for me started out so strong, and then it just fell flat by the end, so that's where kind of that 3-star comes in. So I love the general premise of this book. We have our main character that is a part of this prophecy where they believe she's the one that's going to be able to like conquer the lands of some sort and like help people, like help the king take over or something. But the idea of like a fate inked in blood is that these various gods, like the gods we know in Greek mythology, they occasionally put a drop of their blood in a child that's born, and then that child has those powers. So the concept of that to me is so interesting, because I think in a lot of like Greek mythology type of books, we see where like a god had a kid with a mortal, and now like look, we have a half-blood or whatever, you know what I mean? But this is like, no, the god's not involved with any of the parents. It just like happens to be that that god chose that person to give a drop of their blood to. And I just like, I don't know, that concept was unique to me. I haven't seen that before. And so the premise of that was cool, and like the storyline of like the main plot or like the political type of thing was so interesting. I was engaged in that part the entire time. It was the subplot of romance that I was like, okay, wait, what? Because it started out really cute and I was like really liking it, but then at like the halfway point, or maybe even a little before that, it felt to me that I was being told a lot than compared to like being shown things. And so if they had these like kind of romance moments between the two, I like couldn't get into that because I was just like, this just like doesn't fully make sense to me. And then I wrote this, I don't know, is it a spoiler? It's not like a, okay, no, I don't think it is. So I put in my Goodreads review that towards the end of this book, she was kind of giving Nesta in the first 30% of A Court of Silver Flames. And he was giving, I put eye roll. Okay, Like, that was so true. At the end, I was very irritated with both of them, but that kind of made me interested in a way because I would love to see their character arc, like both of them separately, in knowing how they progress, because I put in the first 30% of A Court of Silver Flames because by the end I was like, okay, like I don't hate Nesta anymore. You know what I mean? Like if you watched my like reading vlogs of that book, then you saw me go through it. You saw me go through it. But that's kind of how I was feeling, so that's why, you know, 3 stars. Yeah. Pick it up if you're interested. I checked it out from the library, so that was a hit for me because then I didn't have to spend my money on it. I don't remember if I listened to the audiobook or not, or if I just read it, so do it that way you will. The next book I read was Never Vacation with Your Ex by Emily Wibberley and Austin Siegemund-Broca. So duo author situation, and this is the same author as The Roughest Draft that I read last summer and loved so much. I think it's such an underrated book. So I was excited to pick this one up, but it just fell flat for me. I don't know if I said I gave it 3 stars. So it's because I didn't read what it was about before I went into it. Like I saw the title, Never Vacation with Your Ex. I was like, okay, so we're going on vacation with our ex. Great. What I didn't realize is it was a high school romance. And so I think I'm not anti-high school romances, but I have to be in the mood for it. And I don't think I was. Like I think I was in the mood for like adult romances. So I did like that our main female character, Kaylee, was a very highly competitive athlete, and a lot of the pressures that she was feeling and just thoughts she was having, I definitely related to that from when I was in high school. And so that was fun for me to like, well, I say fun, I mean the pressure of it is not a fun topic, but it was interesting for me to like connect in a way to my younger self. But then, I mean, overall, it's like too young of a romance for me to like really be like, oh my god, yay. I'm like, you're like 17. So that's where it fell flat for me. But like, it's a fun summer romance. I think if it's in your like age category, like you would probably enjoy it and you would like be able to connect to that. Or if you just like high school romances and you're like in the mood for one, I think this could be a hit for you. I just wasn't in the mind space to read it at the time. So 3 stars. Okay, I'm going to talk about all these 3 together, even though I didn't read them back to back, but I read the Renegades trilogy. So Renegades, Arch Enemies, and Supernova. I gave them all 4 stars, so it's a 4-star series for me. This is a YA, like science fiction, fantasy type of situation, and it was just so fun. I read, I think Renegades, I read like the first half of it physically, and then I started listening to the audiobook and I was doing other stuff, so I wasn't even hybrid reading. I was just listening to the audiobook and I fell in love with the audiobook. Absolutely. So then I read the next 2 books, just audio, didn't even check them out from the library, like didn't check out the physical book from the library. I just listened to the audiobooks from Libby. I highly recommend doing that. I was just so happy reading it. I was just so interested in it. It is YA, so I like that the like little romance that they threw in there was so YA. It wasn't like these 16-year-olds like, I don't know, contemplating like marrying each other, and I'm like, you're 16, let's just slow down. Slow down. This was very like YA when they threw that in. So the premise is our main character, Nova, she had a time of need when she was like 6 years old where her family was being attacked, and the Renegades, the superheroes in this world, were supposed to come and help her. She was always told that the Renegades will come and help you at a time of need, and she needed them and they weren't there, and since that time she's just had a vendetta against them. So at the time that her parents were being attacked, a leader of the anarchists, which are the villains in the story, he came and like helped her, like rescued her at the end, and so she was kind of just taken under the villain's wing. There we go. I was gonna say ring, and I'm like, that's not the right word. So then flash forward 10 years later, because like all this is like the first few pages of the book 1, like, hey, this is your backstory on Nova. And then now 10 years later, she is wanting to infiltrate the Renegades like academy situation to take him down from within, and she's working with her own team from the anarchists, and it was just so good. I liked how Marissa Meyer like handled the premise of superheroes not always doing good things, and anarchists, like the villains, not always just being, I don't know, not always having the worst mindset and always wanting to just hurt people. It's like, hey, maybe the root of what they're wanting isn't bad. So I don't know, I liked it. It was very fun. This next book I listened to in one sitting, and it is Home is Where the Bodies Are by Geneva Rose. This was an arc that I got to listen to from like the Libro FM's ALC program, which is so weird. I'm just gonna call it an ARC program. Like, it's like advanced advanced listen copy or something, but I'm like, ARC. Okay, so I read this book and it was a crime mystery adult book. I was saying adult because like it's not like the YA mystery that we have from like the Natural series or something, you know what I mean? So this is the first book that I read, listened to by Geneva Rose. I don't know if this is her debut book. I don't know if she has a lot of books. No clue. But I gave this book 4 stars. I really liked it. I thought listening to it really enhanced my experience because I felt like I was listening to this sort of true crime documentary. You're following it's a third person, but you kind of I believe it's third person, and you're following different people from the family. So these kids, their parents passed away, or like the dad had passed away earlier, now the mom's passed away, and they're at the family home going through everything to figure out kind of what to do. And in their mother's belongings, they find a VHS tape that they thought is just like a home video. Turns out it's like a dead body involved, and like their mom and dad covering it up. And so then they're like, whoa, what do we do about that? And so like they're having to decide, like, do we just like didn't see that, or now do we figure out like who's involved in this, what is this, like what's the truth, all of that. And so it just felt like a true crime documentary unfolding, and I love watching those. So I think that's why listening to it made it feel like that. And 4 stars. I mean, I think it's really hard for me to rate thrillers higher than that unless it has like some amazing quality. And so this, I really liked it. 4 stars is a great rating. So not like anything major to knock off of it. It's just kind of a feeling with a book, you know what I mean? So I totally recommend that. I think that came out this past, actually maybe it came out just yesterday. Now that I think about it, I want to say it could have been April 30th that it was the release date. So check it out. Okay, now let's talk about the different videos that I put out and which books I read in them. So the first one I'm going to go over is the 24-hour readathon that I just put out on Wednesday, a couple days ago. So the first book that I read in that was Supernova, so I already talked about that one. The next one that I read was Midnight at the Houdini by Delilah Dawson. I gave this 3.5 stars. This was just fun. It's a YA mystery. The premise is our main female character has like run away during like a storm situation. She's like having a crisis because her sister is getting married and gonna like maybe move away. And so she runs into this hotel that's called the Houdini, but it's now not the Houdini that's in Las Vegas. She's now like kind of transferred to like an alternate Houdini where it's very magical. I don't know if whimsical is the right word because there's definitely this eeriness to it, but she quickly runs into a boy named Max. I think our main character is named Anna, and she's like 16. So boy as in like they're under 18, and I think he's also around that age. And he says like he lives in the Houdini, like in the walls of Houdini. And she's like, that's quirky, okay. And she quickly finds out though that if she doesn't get out of the magical weird hotel by midnight, she's stuck there forever. So the hotel has a mind of its own in a way, like it's gonna take you to the floor it wants to take you. Like even though you're like, hey, elevator, floor 2 please, it's like, how about floor 5? And you're like, love that for me. The rooms, not the same. If you go in one door, hey, maybe that door's not gonna be there when you turn around. Maybe it's not gonna take you back out into the hallway. Maybe it's gonna take you to a different room. Like, it's just crazy. It kind of reminds me of a YA version of that season of American Horror Story. You know, like I think it's with Lady Gaga. I don't remember like the name of it, but like if you know it, you know it. It's kind of the vibe that I got and like kind of how I was picturing it, like the eeriness of it. Oh, it was just so interesting. But you know, there wasn't depth to it. It was just like an interesting, entertaining story. So 3.5 stars. The next book I read in that video was Bride by Ellie Hazelwood. I gave this book 3.25 stars. The more I sat with it, I was just like, okay. Like as I continued reading it and like I sat with it afterwards, I was like, okay, this was fun. I enjoyed that she kind of got out of her comfort zone with our classic STEM romance. At the same time, I didn't love our characters. I enjoyed the story. Like, if you've read it, the intimate scenes, I just couldn't get into it. What was that thing? I'm not even gonna say it on here, it feels like a dirty word. What was that thing associated with him? And I couldn't deal with it. And so I thought that there was honestly too many of those scenes in there for how short of the book it was. I was like, okay, I'm not really connecting with our characters, so I can't really get behind this. Like, it didn't feel like there was much connection with them. It was just kind of like, I don't want to say, I don't want to be disrespectful to them and their love, but yeah, I didn't vibe with it as much on like the romance front, but like the story and the world was really interesting, and the way it ended, I believe in technically the epilogue totally sets us up for another book in this world, and I will be reading it. 3.25 is a rating that means I enjoyed the book. It was just nothing crazy, nothing special, and so I recommend it if you're interested in it. Just like, don't go in with your classic Ellie Hazelwood in mind. Yeah, that was a unique experience. The last book that I read for that video was The Brothers Hawthorne. I was highly anticipating this book, and I recently got the audiobook. I put it on hold like months ago, it feels like, and I finally got it. And so I did a hybrid read for this one, and this was the perfect book to read at the time that I did, because 24-hour readathons, guys, that was hard, but it also wasn't. It was surprisingly easy. Like, it's hard because like you have to read, but when I thought of having to physically read for 24 hours straight, no shot. So that's why I kind of tried to do like hybrid, read physically only, audio only, all these things. And this was perfect because it was not a heavy book, but it's also like the way Jennifer Lynn Barnes writes, I just want to be her best friend so bad. Like, her brain is so cool to me to write like the inheritance games, the naturals, this, oh my gosh. I'm obsessed, absolutely obsessed with her and her writing, the way her brain operates. This was just very interesting to me. It was taking place after the first 3 inheritance games books, so like the inheritance games, the Hawthorne Legacy, and the Final Gambit, and then timeline is these 2 books. You're following Grayson and Jameson, and they are on these like 2 different kind of adventures of their own, and so you're following both of them through that. And I think having both of those mysteries going on at once and like all the clues, like, she's just so great at writing all like the puzzles and games, and there's another word for it that I can't think of, but I just loved it. It was just so entertaining, and she writes such like easy to read in like short chapters that like you just keep going so easily. So this is perfect to read for the readathon, but also I was just highly anticipating this book. I don't think I said it, but I gave it 4 stars, but I gave the first 3 books 4.5, and so I mean, I liked it a little less, but I really liked it. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I think she has the Grandest Game and the Games Untold coming out this year, one in July, one in November. But what I learned, I think is the Games Untold is like book number 5 in this series, but the Grandest Game is like book number 1 in a series that she's doing, but it's in the same world. So I'm just so excited. I'm just so excited. Okay, the next video that I'm still technically filming, but it'll be out next week. I just have 1 book left, but I am rereading my 5-star Emily Henry books. So this month I read Beach Read and then Happy Place, and then the next book I will be finishing up over this weekend, and that'll be out next Wednesday maybe. So look out for that, but these are my first ever rereads, like ever, of a book, and so that was a very unique experience, and I'm excited to finish up the last book and then get that video out for you guys. Okay, the last books I'm going to talk about are all the books that I read in my April new releases reading vlog that was posted earlier this week. So if you want to check it out to get more like in-depth thoughts as I was reading these books, go check that out. I'm just going to talk about kind of what the book is about and then what rating I gave it. So the first one is The Rule Book by Sarah Adams. This is in the same universe as The Cheat Sheet, which I loved. I read that last year. I don't know exactly when, but I read it last year, really enjoyed it. So this is in the same world. Our main male character is on the same team as the main male character. in the cheat sheet. And what I really liked about the cheat sheet was it's friends to lovers, and I remember really loving the dialogue that Sarah Adams wrote, but you didn't get that kind of banter tension dialogue because it's friends to lovers. They're trying to figure out if they like each other, right? But this is like second chance and kind of like angsty because there's a little bit of anger from when they dated in college, and then Nora, our main female character, suddenly kind of broke things off. So now, fast forward to present time, their interactions, bit of tension. The banter, I was just eating this up. Our main characters are Derek and Nora, and so Derek is like the best of the best tight ends on this football team. Nora is kind of a new and upcoming rookie sports agent, and so they're kind of put together to kind of help him be the new sport agent, whatever. And so they're navigating the fact that they have this history. She's just like a bubbly ray of sunshine, and he is the grumpiest grumpster ever. And I think you just have to go into this thinking of it as a rom-com. It's a rom-com, guys. Like, it's not that deep, it's not that serious. Just go in having a good time. Summery vibes. I love it. I gave it 4 stars. The next one I read was Powerful by Lauren Roberts. This is a novella that takes place at the same time as Powerless, but you're getting Adana's point of view through the whole thing. I love this book way more than I thought I would because I ended Powerless thinking I didn't really care about the side characters. Not like, I guess in a bad way, like I didn't knock it off, I gave Powerless 5 stars. But I was like, oh, when I learned about this, I'm like, I'm probably not gonna read it. And then I was like, God, everyone's gonna read it, I should just read it. And I am so glad that I did. 4.5 stars. The next one is Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez. Oh my God. This was so fun. I had the best time reading this. This was my second ever Abby Jimenez books. I've only read Yours Truly and then this. This is in the same universe as A Part of Your World, Yours Truly, and now this, I believe. And then I haven't read any of her other books. I don't know what more there is, but this is following Justin and Emma, and the premise is just so fun to me. So fun. You have Justin and Emma who are cursed in the dating department. Whoever they date, as soon as they break up, that person finds like their soulmate next. And I'm like, what tough luck. And so Emma comes across his story, and like they just connect in a very silly way, and I just liked it. I thought it was a very fun time. Their idea is like, hey, let's date each other, and that way when we break up, we find our soulmates. It'll be perfect, it'll be fun. And so just for the summer, they're supposed to date, and I liked it. I had a great time with this book. I really like how Abby Jimenez, I don't know, she makes books very fun, but she also touches on very real topics. So I don't want to talk too much more about it because I feel like I talked a lot in the vlog, but I gave this book 5 stars. The last one, oh my gosh, I read Funny Story by Emily Henry. This book, like, it's so controversial in my own mind. So, like, I'm still not even sure. Ultimately, right now, I'm giving this book 4.25 stars, but this is a book that I could see I rate higher on a reread. You are following, oh my God, Daphne and Miles, and the premise of this, tough luck. These two, they are in committed relationships. Daphne is literally going to get married to Peter on the day of Peter's like bachelor thing. He comes home and ends things saying that he's actually in love with his like childhood best friend. That's dating Miles. So these two just got broken up with, and now like Miles needs a roommate so he can pay rent. Daphne is now being kicked out of the house pretty much, right? So they move in together, and that's the premise, is now they are navigating their loss and like all the stages of grief in a way. Like, you're sad, you're angry, you're trying to get over them, you kind of want to be petty in moments. It's just very fun, and I think these two characters are very different than what we've seen Emily Henry write before. And I think if you go in understanding they're not the typical characters we see, I think you'll have a better time like just getting into it. Don't expect another beach read or another Happy Place, or another People We Meet on Vacation, or Book Lovers. It's just so different, and I thought this was a hit in its own way. I'm so glad so many people loved it, and I think the people that didn't, that's totally fine. I think we also had a lot of a certain like mindset heading into this book, and I'm excited to do a reread of this. Okay, before we get into my like May TBR side, as far as like April goes, so there were 2 books that I kind of would have read in this month that I didn't, and that is Ruthless Vows and then the Bone Collection. That's like the 4 novellas heading into the whole series that is like that the TV show Bones is based off of, and I'm gonna be reading that with my uncle. So I didn't get to those 2, and there are 3 books that I don't know if like DNF's the right word. I kind of just chose I don't think I'm gonna read them right now. That was Contact by Carl Sagan, Beartown, and then Heartless Hunter. I tried to get into Heartless Hunter. At the time of reading it, my brain could not do it. And I was like, okay, I just don't think this book is for me right now. I definitely want to read it in the future. So other than that, all of my TBRs I hit, so I feel good. Overall, I read 19 books, 9 of them from the library, 8 from my physical TBR, 1 ebook, and 1 audio ARC. So the number of pages I read, I mean, I get it, I read 19 books, but oh my gosh, this is just kind of nuts to me. 7,471. Oh my gosh. I didn't do an average rating, but when I just look at this stuff, I feel like it has to be around 4 stars because I see a lot of like 4s and 4.25s, and then I have some 3s and a couple 5s. So I feel like it probably averaged out to about 4 stars most likely, which is such a great reading month when you consider how many books I read. There was a lot of hits, and I feel like I read a good variety of books and books that I probably typically wouldn't pick up, and I just had such a good time reading this month. I'm very excited heading into this next month because I'm gonna be gone for 2 weeks, and I think it's actually gonna make me like chill with reading and like just read, I wouldn't say a handful, like I have a goal of probably reading like 8 books would be like a happy one for me because I don't want to try to read a lot. I'm not trying to top 19 books. Like I just want to read some good books this month and understand that I'm going to be traveling and not as free to just like be in my own environment reading. So I'm looking forward to this upcoming month. Let's jump into my May TBR. Ask me what it is. Go ahead. JC, what's your May TBR? I don't know yet. So I'm going to hit like stop on this and I'll come back when I actually know. Okay, oh my gosh, you guys, these are some books I'm going to be choosing from. So like I mentioned, I only want to read, or like I have a goal of reading like 8 books or so, but these are the books I'm going to be choosing from on top of some more that are audiobooks. I know, you're like, JC, that stack alone is more than 8. Let's get into it. I literally just got this ARC today, sent to me in the mail, and I'm so excited because I wanted to read this so bad when it came out in June, and now I have the ARC. So it is Just Some Stupid Love Story. I don't remember what it's about. You've just found a new story to love. A rom-com writer who doesn't believe in love, a divorce lawyer who does, and a bet between these exes to prove who's right. Second chance? Okay. I'm so excited for this one. So, this is the first one up. I would love to get to this book this month. I don't know why I pushed it off so long, but one of my coworkers recently brought up that his wife made him read both books, and he was like, they're like surprisingly good, and I'm like, I freaked out. So I'm not gonna put it back on my radar, so we'll see if I get to this. The next one would be Ruthless Vows, kind of the same thing. I have the audiobook, and I think when I'm having the audiobook, it definitely helps me. So this is a book that I could see myself picking up this month. I want to, but now I've seen so many mixed reviews, I'm very nervous to, but I think I'm committed. And then I have Book Lovers by Emily Henry. This is the final book I need to read for the 5-star Emily Henry reread video. I'm actually picking that up today. Okay, these last ones are from my library. So I have Project Hail Mary. Yeah, The Book That Wouldn't Burn. The Color of Dragons. Draw Down the Moon. Really interesting. A Tempest of Tea. I'm kind of, I don't know, I started more of this, I think, and I just got distracted with my other books, but yeah, I'm like 30 or so pages in, so I think this is one that I'm also going to be reading. Like, as my first, like, non-video book. And then I have the Bone Collection. This is the novella situation. Now where's my phone? Let me go find the audiobooks that I'm interested in. I currently have some checked out from Libby, so let's look at those first. I have Check and Mate. This was one that I got another like skip the line situation. So if you're on Libby, you should totally like check out the skip the line stuff. Taylor once said, like, Taylor from like TKS Library on Instagram, she once put in her podcast, like, it's a full-time job looking at those, and I'm like, no, like, I've thought about that quote since, because it's so true. The amount of times that I am looking at the skip the lines, insane. So I have that book. I have the 5-Star Weekend by Ellen Hildebrand, the Prison Healer, Cinder by Marissa Meyer, so that's like the other series, and then, oh my gosh, forgot about this. I want to read the next 2 books in Magnolia Parks. There, I said it. Okay, anyways. So bad. Now let me go to Libro FM because I have some books that I added to my library from there. Oh my gosh. No, this is so bad. Okay, I have How to End a Love Story. I got this one last month. I just didn't get to it, but I started listening to it yesterday and I liked how it started, so I'm interested in reading that one. And then the other books that I downloaded from this like maze arc selection is The North Wind by Alexandria Warwick, I'm Afraid You've Got Dragons by Peter S. Beagle, Not Like Other Girls by Meredith Adamo, Dreadful by Caitlin Brozakis, Loyally Loop by Pepper Basham, Blood at the Root by Ladarian Williams, and The Magic All Around by Jennifer Mormon. So, I know, that's like so many. I have no idea. I have no idea. The first 2 I'm gonna pick up, Tempest of Tea and Book Lovers, I can tell you that much. So we'll see just what reading I get done this month. I have quite a selection to choose from. We'll see how much I read. Like, no way, I'm not reading all these, obviously. But I just don't know what this month is gonna bring as far as availability and like what the traveling is gonna be like. So I'm gonna have a chill May. That's my goal, is to just read some books, do life things, not stress so much. I haven't filmed a weekly reading vlog in 2 weeks. And I'm looking forward to getting back into it on Monday, so they're coming back. Don't you worry. I think I just needed a break from constantly filming. So I've been filming other videos, just not like the constant daily vlog, you know? That is all I have for today's video. That is my April reading wrap up in my May TBR. Please let me know if you've read any of the books that I read in April and like what you thought of them. And if you've read any of these May books that I have on my radar, which ones you may want a vlog for, if you want me to read certain ones over the other, let me know which ones I should prioritize. And also, I will be making a Patreon announcement later on in this month. I was gonna start some stuff in this month, but then I decided to hold off because I realized I was gonna be gone for 2 weeks. I'm just not in my natural habitat for 2 weeks, so I didn't want to start things off where I'm like instantly stressed. So in June, there is some very fun stuff happening. If you are on my Patreon now, I already gave an exclusive access to what all like those tiers are gonna be, what June specifically is gonna be like with the deal special that I'm gonna offer during that month. So join my Patreon now if you'd like. It's $1 and you get access to different chats and my just Patreon exclusive feed. And it's just our little book community over there. And then I'm very excited to be branching out in June to making it a lot more options and a lot more of me, and we'll see how it goes. But with that, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video and I will see you in my next one.